Kabir joins the erudite company of Kalidasa when two accomplished writers are in conversation with Akhila Krishnamurthy to talk about their unique efforts in recreating the works of these two iconic poets. Chandan Sinha's strikingly original book that translates the sakhis of Kabir and Mrityunjay Kumar Singh's transcreation of Meghdooth in Hindi brings alive these poetic traditions. We welcome all of you to the stage. Thank you.
What are the similarities, the differences? You know, Kabir, as Vipul so beautifully said and sang, extolled the notion of the Nirgun tradition, reiterating the formless over the form. In writing poetry, that was also an outcome of his devotion. Kabir, a 15th century poet, assumed the status of a saint poet, a bhakta. Reading Kabir, therefore, is a starting point stairway to spirituality. Kalidasa, on the other hand, was born in the 5th century, and sources reveal that he was a court poet who wrote poems and plays that really continue to be performed and recreated. At the core of his works, at the core of Kalidasa's works, is beautiful poetry that is a celebration of human emotions, nature, and the interrelationship between humankind and nature. Over time, poets and translators like you have engaged with Kabir and Kalidasa in an attempt to recreate, distill, preserve and carry forward their repository in ways and means that only assure us that so many centuries later their work lives on through their writings, and that bringing them to life and infusing them with new personalities. They're really metaphors. I was thinking today of a river with many, many different tributaries that are constantly in flow. Very, very warm welcome to you, Chandanji and Mrityunjayji. Really looking forward to having a conversation with you. I want to start, actually, I've sort of broken this entire conversation into 5 or 6 key words. And I wanted to start with this word inheritance. You know, I was thinking about the word inheritance this morning, and whether it's Kalidasa or Kabir, their rich contribution to the poetic landscape of the country and the world also signal a tradition of continuity that poets like you are able to carry forward, engage with, enable us readers to access these texts. But with inheritance, when you use this word, it's a big word, and with great power comes great responsibility. Talk to us about this word specifically, about inheritance. Chandanji, you'd like to start here?
Kabir's inheritance is, as Vipul Rikhi in the last session, so musical and beautiful session, he stated at the very beginning, 500 years down the line, people still remember, in fact, and more than remember, sing him. At that point of time, he was being quoted widely, he was being spoken of as he is today in a large number of households in North India, in every day, because we have all heard of our mother, our father, our grandparents quoting Kabir. That is the inheritance that we have of Kabir. And there is also this huge inheritance of his corpus. You know, a large, it's really not known which sakhis exactly Kabir wrote. There are about 800 sakhis, and sakhi means a witness. Sakshi, it derives from there. And Kabir is a witness, and witnessing means discernment between good and evil, and discernment of the truth. So that discernment has come through this corpus. And this corpus, however, is extending. Now, a problem there is that when we are adding to the corpus, now in Hindi literature, in pre-modern Hindi literature, for instance, you had a tradition of the same theme being dealt by various poets. Like Kabir has a poem, Chandan sarp lapetiya, Chandan kaah karaye. Chandan sarp lapetiya, Chandan kaah karaye, रोम रोम विष भीनिया अमृत कहाँ समाये। snakes entwine the sandalwood. What can sandalwood do? Every pore with venom brims. How can nectar go through? That is the poem that is the theme that has been taken up by Rahim after a while. Jo Rahim Uttam Prakriti. I'll not go into the translation. And then by Vrind and by a few others later down the line. So there is a tradition of using the same theme, and that should be, there's a difference though. Difference is there is acknowledgement there. That it is the writers. Now that is what we would expect the newer editions to also indicate, the authorship, which perhaps is not happening.
Would you like to add on?
I'd just like to add in relation to the Kalidasa. It's again 2000 years ago, 4th, 5th century AD, classical age of Sanskrit. That too, Meghdooth is a Manda Kranta Chand, which is supposed to be one of the most beautiful and most complicated kind of meters. And the good thing is that this is Meghdooth of Kalidas has been, perhaps no book in the world has been translated in so many languages. It is way back in 17th century that the first translation appeared of this somewhere in Germany. And later in India itself, we have translation in Bhojpuri, we have translation of Range Raghav in Hindi, we have a translation of Nagarjun. So there are a lot of translations happen in different kind of a language, like Ramayana, like Mahabharata and all. So this is the kind of inheritance, yes, of our it's a classical things which are being passed on to from generation to generation. Now what I have done, that's why I call it that I have not translated it. I mean, I dare not. What I have done is that हिंदी में उसको रूपांतर कहते हैं, भाषांतर कहेंगे, भावार्थ अंतर कहेंगे, जो कुछ भी कहेंगे. But अंग्रेजी में the thing which comes nearest to that is transcreation, or a different kind of another version of Meghdooth, where I take the similes and metaphors and the right meaning and the essence of it and try putting it in the meters and the rhymes so that it can be sung. Why? Behind that, my purpose was, and intent was just one, that our younger generations and generations of our times, people can connect to that beauty of this literature, who perhaps cannot read or understand Sanskrit, can also enjoy the lyrical beauty or the poetic beauty of it.
Right. What I wanted to also really ask you is, many years ago when I interviewed a performing artist, she told me that I asked her a question on what is tradition, you know. Somehow people confuse tradition with traditional, which is very two different things. So she told me that tradition is addition. And I was thinking today about, you use the word epic in some sense. And if you look at the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, when we read it for children, we also use creative license and liberties, because some of the things that happen in the Ramayana, for some of us may seem a bit problematic, and we take the creative license to work the narrative, right? So I'm just curious to understand that when you, as poets, work on literary works like these, what is the kind of creative liberties that you take to really add on to this tradition? And that is why this tradition, in a sense, continues, right?
Yeah, that's right. In my case, in this book, I have taken a lot of liberty. In fact, I have added around 20-25 verses from my side. In fact, I realized that Kalidasa, while talking about too much about the यक्षिणी के विरह का वर्णन करते करते वो यक्ष के विरह को थोड़ा सा दबा से गए हैं, तो मैंने कोशिश की है कि let the yakshas, so my whole Meghdooth begins with the kind of plight of yaksha who is in a hapless kind of a condition, and how bad badly he is put into the whole punishment. So we do take poetic liberty, but poetic liberty has its own poetic limitations also. I mean, you cannot drift away from the essence of the poetic beauty of it, because you have to be very focused that the kind of metaphors, the kind of similes, the kind of imagery which you use, you should not all of a sudden, if I start using the modern kind of imagery in that, then it spoils the beauty of the poetic beauty of the book. That's what I felt about the Meghdooth.
Absolutely too. So you're saying that to stick with the, if it's a classical, then to stick with the, the classical forms.
Exactly. Yes.
Chandanji, would you like to add to that point?
Yes, there are variations here, and I am more of a purist.
Okay.
I feel when I say that I'm translating Kabir, then I must translate Kabir. People expect that, and it would not be fair to the readers anything other than that. In this respect, in fact, I attempt at least to translate everything in terms of the meaning, in terms of retaining the metaphor, assonance, alliteration if I can, which is very difficult, and certainly a rhyme. And that is something which is a huge challenge. And because Kabir has not been translated in rhyme, in fact my work, Kabir selected sakhis, is the first time that, and there was even publication I faced problems because of that. But I also received support from scholars, especially John Hawley of Columbia University, and who's written the foreword. And it is really something that I think people should be conscious of, because rhyme is essential to dohas. Why? When Kabir formed those dohas, wrote those dohas, so to speak, you must remember that he came from a Shruti tradition, oral and oral tradition, okay, hearing. And there, what was importance? How do you convey not only the meaning, but how should it be remembered? Okay, so to carry forth the message, you had a metaphor, a figure of speech, whether a metaphor or a simile, in every sakhi almost. And there was rhythm brought about by meter. Every doha has 24 matras. It's heavily structured. And also there was rhyme. That is what brought it back and brought it into memory.
Yeah, so, yeah, please, yeah, absolutely.
Just doha to रंग ही से रंग उपजै सब रंग देखा एक कौन रंग है जीव का ताका कर विवेक color springs from color I see all shades in one what is the soul's color that's what you must discern. Now if I were to change color springs from color I see all shades in one what is the soul's color that's what you must make out. I don't think you would be able to remember that as easy.
Right.
So you're saying that would this be first of its kind in a way that it's translated Kabir also from the perspective of rhyme and meter as well?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Our dohas have been, Kabir's dohas have been translated. There are several good translations. Unfortunately, they don't follow the rhyme. And it's very important because it helps you catch as much of the voice of Kabir as possible. It's not perhaps possible to catch him entirely, I wish I could, but as much of him, and that is what our aim should be, to convey to the readers as complete Kabir as possible. That is my aim.
Fantastic. Mrityunjay ji, why don't you tell us a little bit about the genesis of this book? You talk about how it came about in a conversation that you were having with your friend. So talk to us, we will invite him just a little bit later, but before that, if you can tell us how this book was born.
Well, I have written in the preface of that also, where this came about only when one of my music director friends, this is another person, Devjyoti Mishra, he is also a very, you must have heard the Raincoat films and a lot of films which he has given music for. He wanted me to scribble some verses for Megh, Cloud. And that what happened about his intention and about his film or whatever, I do not know, because it never happened. But in the meantime, when I started writing that, then I all of a sudden I started visualizing that I am somewhere like having a kind of a conversation with the clouds. I'm looking at them and talking to them. And that is where it all started. Then I started researching, then going through the versions, original Sanskrit, understanding the exact imageries and metaphors and everything so that I don't go wrong. And then came my friend Prabuddha Banerjee. If the time permits, then we will end with that, some verses which we will like to sing it out. And he heard this first time and then said, oh, I hear music in this. And then immediately he took his guitar and started like strumming. And we started coming out, that's each and every word started falling on the meters and the rhymes of and the melody of the music. That is how we created. He himself is a national awardee music director.
We'll be inviting him shortly.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
Perhaps you could read from the book.
The singing part, of course, I'll do with him only because I'll need a little bit of support.
Sure.
But for example, like when the Megh, the Kalidasa starts from where? When he says that एक ऐसा ही दुर्भाग्य लिए जब यक्ष पड़ा असहाय निसंग मदमस्त गजों सा मेघों का एक दल पावस ऋतुलाई संग शीतल बयार के झोंके से जो वर्षा की आशा आए कुंभलाए सूखे जंगल में हरियाली सी मुस्काई कौन नहीं चाहेगा अपनी प्रिया का संग ऋतु सावन में मैं ही केवल एक अभागा भटक रहा व्याकुल वन में यक्ष के मन में भी उस क्षण आशा की एक कली खिली लगा उसे अपने प्रियतम से मिलने की राह मिली करने लगे मनुहार मेघ का विरह से कातर मुख खोले गया पसीज हृदय मेघों का बरस के दुख से वो बोले लुक एट द पर्सोनिफिकेशन ऑफ नेचर स्वीकार हमें यह बंधु तेरा करुणा से भरा निवेदन है जो कुछ भी हो सकता मुझसे करने को तत्पर ये मन है बट आफ्टर दैट ही द यक्ष के मन में संदेह भी है कहता है लेकिन नभ का ये यायावर क्या खोज प्रिया को पाएगा विरह में जलते जातक का संदेश उसे पहुंचाएगा वायु का संचारण जिसको यहाँ वहां ले जाता है तभी तो बादल इस जग में आवारा कहलाता है That's why the cloud is, आवारा कहते हैं बादल को. So इस संदेह से, this is a poetic liberty.
Right.
Kalidas has not said तभी तो बादल इस जग में आवारा कहलाता है. Avara word would not be used in the classical Sanskrit. But I had taken this poetic liberty to emote and to actually express that emotion which Kalidas wanted to say. Ki, how will it do? I mean, perhaps he will fail.
Absolutely. So beautiful. Chandanji, tell me a little bit about, while you were, this is a sort of a huge project that you embarked on. What were some of your challenges while you were, working on this? Were you stuck at certain points? Did you have creative blocks? Did you feel like, oh my God, why did I embark on this? Tell us a bit about, what was that process like?
I was not really stuck at any point, but towards the end. As I said, finding a publisher became a challenge because I was kind of breaking something of a mold. But yes, I had to go back again and again to the originals because I started writing, translating in 2009-10. Okay, and I completed it around in 2017-18. And after that, I again polished it because I was not getting a publisher. So Why did I have to? Because this was my first attempt at translation. Now, when you translate, the first time you get the basic meaning, and then you go back to it after a few days, and you think, oh, this is perfect. When you go back to it after a month or 2 months, you'll say, "Arey, ye kaise reh gaya? Ya ye kaise ho gaya? I have misunderstood this." The context. So you have to be able to identify the exact context and the meaning of the word in that context, and finally nail it. After a while, you realize that you are now unnecessarily polishing it. So, so that is how it took a bit longer. My next book, which should be out later this year, is a translation of Rahim's Dohas, which didn't take as long. A little less, and maybe the one after that, the one I'm working on now, will take even less.
Right.
But it's all a learning process. So that has been a challenge. And the fact that because there is no verse in rhyme, no translation in rhyme, I've had to develop a system whereby I can include meter and rhyme, and without making it artificial. There's no point in using words just because you want to rhyme something. If I cannot rhyme, I cannot rhyme. That also, in fact, not all of Kabir's poems are rhymed. I mean, I would say, भारी कहूँ तो बहु डरो, हल्का कहूँ तो ढीठ, झूठ. भारी कहूँ तो बहु डरो, हल्का कहूँ तो झूठ. मैं का जानो राम को, नैना कभी न दीठ. Jhoot and deed. I am scared to call him great. To call him small is a lie. How can I say what God is like? Never saw him with my eye. But that's not true for all poems. So even if it comes to a near rhyme, that should be good enough at times. And I'm happy with that because I can't do anything better than that.
But writing in itself, especially translation, is a very, very sort of an iterative and also very lonely process. Chandan, Mrityunjay, tell us a little bit about your writing process. How do you write?
Well, as a poet, I can tell you that I don't write. Somebody else writes for me. My body is used, my mind is used, everything. But where it comes from, because while writing, I find that I'm traveling, and my existence is in dreams. Even in the sleep, at times, lines come, words comes, expression comes, whether you note it down, jot it down in the night itself, or you try remembering them for the next morning. But honestly speaking, people, poets and literati talk about their process. My process, I would be very honest, I do not know how I write. It's written, just that. Today it takes time, no doubt about it. As Chandan said, it really takes time. At times you read your own things and you all of a sudden realize, oh, how can I write this? This is wrong, I took it wrong. But then that right thing also comes from divine. So there's a divinity about poetry, at least I would say. That's why I keep on saying poets, musicians, singers are born. They cannot be made. You can learn grammar, you can be very good at poetry and writing, जिसको हम लोग हिंदी में कहते हैं शब्द शिल्प. Wordsmith आप बन सकते हैं, लेकिन poet बनने के लिए you have to have that from the divine. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just as I was, getting ready for this session, I just said that I was gearing up to speak on, interview two poets on Kabir and Kalidasa, and my friend said, what a strange combination, because here is Kalidasa just all about beauty and desire and, just a fullness of life, and here is Kabir with an inherent quality of minimalism. I'm just curious to understand, I always ask people this, by virtue of just engaging with poetry of masters like this and their deep philosophy, how have you changed? What are your key takeaways when you're sort of immersed in the world of Kabir? What happens to you as a human?
Kabir actually became a great influence on my life because I am not sure Kabir is minimalist in terms of emotion. His poetry, his pad, that is his bhajans, and his dohas, and scholars believe that his poems are originally dohas, are full of emotion. There are people, Ricky earlier had mentioned about love. Kabir's love is for God. And he's totally in love with him. That was the Bhakti tradition. So therefore he can say, and the doha that Vipul had mentioned was, Naina antaryavtu jyohi nain jhapeun. नैना अंतर्याव तू ज्यों ही नैन छपेऊं ना हो देखूं और को ना तुझ देखन देऊं. As soon as you enter my eye, and as soon as you enter my vision, I'll tightly shut my eye. Neither will I look at anyone, nor anyone let you spy. There's two meanings there. And that half line of the second line of Kabir. Na tujh dekhan deun, nor anyone let you spy. And direct translation is there. I will not let anyone else look at you, and I'll not let you look at anyone. So if you call him a minimalist, he packs maximum power. That is the power of Rahim, of Kabir, that again Ricky was talking about. So there is love there. There is emotion in Kabir like there is in no other saint poet. Like for instance, he is extremely close to, he feels very close to God. And there is no other poet, no other saint who speaks in the same way. No one. Everyone talks about all the saints of Bhakti tradition, even Sufi tradition, are talking about their love. But only Kabir can get angry with God.
Yeah.
मुँह पीछे मत मिलो, मुँह पीछे मत मिलो, कहा कबीरा राम. लोहा माटी मिल गया तो पारस को ने कहा. Don't meet me when I'm dead. Kabir tells God in disgust. Don't meet me when I'm dead. Kabir tells God in disgust. What use is the philosopher's stone when iron turns to dust? That address, Kabir only can get angry with God. No one else can dare to, and that is because of his love.
Yeah.
So there is tremendous emotion, and it's not minimal. In fact, it's as powerful as it can get.
Fantastic. That was a fantastic response. Really, God is a friend. At this point, I think, I was also thinking that Kabir and Kalidasa both have a performative quality. Over years now, whether in dance or music, they've constantly engaged both with Meghdooth as well as, Kabir's poetry has been sung and performed. At this point, I'd like to invite on stage Prabuddha Banerjee, a National Award-winning music director and two-time Filmfare Award winner, trained in Western classical music since childhood, and developed into a multi-instrumentalist musician and composer. Prabuddha ji, the stage is all yours, and I'd like for Mrityunjay ji and you to really extol the value of musicality of Kalidasa's poem Meghdooth in particular.
Time is slightly short. We will just pick up a few verses. तेरे तन पर जो दिखती मुझको श्यामल छाया, तूने भी क्या विरह में जलकर पाई ऐसी काया है मेघ, या फिर जगत के दूषण से है मलिन तुम्हारा जल भी, रोते नैनों से रिश्ता है, आँखों का काजल भी है मेघ, मैं यक्ष हुआ शापित जब से मेरे जीवन का आधार गया, मेरा घर छूटा अपने छूटे उस प्रियतम को भी हार गया। कहते हैं भाग्य मनुज का फूटे जब एक न चलता है, अपनी ही आंखों के आगे सब कुछ विपदा में जलता है। हर ओर दिशाएं गुमसुम हैं, आवाज से स्थिर ये द्रुम है, सदियों से हवा भी चली नहीं, लगता है विपदा टली नहीं। तनी हुई प्रत्यंचा सी आकाश में कोलाहल है, ऊपर फैली उत्कंठा में मिश्रित मारक हालाहल है। तारों के टिम-टिम दीपों पर व्याकुल पतंग सा मंडराता, तारों के टिम-टिम दीपों पर व्याकुल पतंग सा मंडराता, ये मेरा ही है प्राण प्रिय, इससे उससे ठोकर खाता, मैं विह्वल हूँ मैं पागल हूँ ऐसा कहकर हंसते हैं मूड, मैं विह्वल हूँ मैं पागल हूँ ऐसा कहकर हंसते हैं मूड, कैसे मैं समझाऊं इनको अपनी वेदना का विषय गुण। हो करुण रुदन या अट्टहास मेरे लिए दोनों ही विलास, एकांत है मेरा और तुम हो, सब बोल रहे बस तुम गुम हो, सपनों की छत पर झूल रहे, तेरी छवि जैसे बोल रही, मैं यहाँ नहीं मैं वहाँ नहीं, मैं यहाँ नहीं मैं वहाँ नहीं, पर यही कहीं मैं यही कहीं। आगे चल के एक जगह हम जब मेघ को यक्ष के रास्ता दिखाते हैं कि आप कैसे अलका नगरी जाएंगे, मेरी यक्षिणी के पास पहुंचेंगे, सबका वर्णन करते चलते हैं, पूरे अद्भुत वर्णन है। जंगल, नाले, पेड़, पहाड़, फूल, पशु, पक्षी, लोग, तो उसमें चंबल के उस पार दशपुर की सुंदरिया जो है उसका वर्णन करते हैं और कहते हैं उसको कि उसको देखना मत भूलना। अगर वो उसको देखना भूल गए तो मैं समझूंगा कि तुम अंधे हो, लोचन से वंचित तुम जन्म लिए हो। एंड हाउ ही डिस्क्राइब्स इट, उसको हम लोगों ने दसपुर की सुंदरियां बसती चंबल के उस पार, चंबल के उस पार। दसपुर की सुंदरियां बसती चंबल के उस पार, चंबल के उस पार। भंवरों के गुण से ओतप्रोत उनकी चितवन में धार, उनकी चितवन में धार। दसपुर की the time is very less, so we would not like to extend, but some other time we will be able to give you more.
It was so beautiful. Also a reminder that there's so much beauty and that it's important for us to look around and soak in that beauty. So thank you. I think we're ending on a beautiful note. Thank you so much to the great poets, and thank you to the two of you. And thank you. Would you just like to speak a little bit about this instrument?
Yes, that's much more safer because I think I'm the only person who is not a poet. This is actually a Chinese instrument. It's called the zhongruan. It's a folk instrument. It's played with the plectrum, but I adopted in playing it in the finger plucking style to make it more compatible with what I was composing for Meghdooth, written by Mrityunjay. So that's it. It's not a classical instrument. It's a typical Chinese folk instrument.
Thank you so much. The books are available.
Thank you very much.
The poets will be available to sign books. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Thank you very much. My book is out of print in Hindi, so it will come out later. English version is, of course, it's available on online, but Hindi you'll have to wait for some time maybe. Yeah, thank you.
My book is available outside. Anyone who wishes to buy.
A magical mahal that was set with Kabir and Kalidasa. So thank you so much to both of you.